Hey, everybody, welcome to Cloud and Clear. My very special guest today is Troy McAlpin, CEO of X Matters, a wonderful SADA customer. Been waiting to do this for a long time, so welcome to Cloud and Clear. Troy,
Thank you, Tony. Thanks for having us. Excited to
I
be here.
appreciate it. Yeah, no, it's awesome. I'm getting to record all of these with everyone's sort of home office setups and their unique, personalities reflected in their backdrop.
Right. Yeah, it's a little it's interesting, right? It's hard to this transition of how you would normally get to talk with customers. All of a sudden, we're inviting one another into our homes. So
Yes.
there's it's kind of fun actually, right?
Yeah, there's an
See the
element
personal
of
side
intimacy. Absolutely. See,
for
just from
sure.
your background, I can tell you're a dad. You're an A's fan.
Right.
Uh, I see a wonderful German Shepherd top right. That probably means something. All of that. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Yeah, that's German Shepherd Rescue. So I'll plug the German Shepherd Rescue since you brought it up. But yeah, that's something I'm involved with. I'm passionate
Fantastic.
about. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. So, look, X Matters. Now you've been, there for as CEO 8.5 years. What I really want to find out, what our audience really enjoys, is the origin story of someone like you throughout their career, kind of how they ended up in where they are today. And I'd love to sort of start with that.
Yeah, I think my story is a little bit like most people's story, that you start off doing one thing as you come out of college and you realize that's not really what I thought it was going to be like in the real world. So I started off originally coming out as a business and consulting major and did that for a few years, and I enjoyed it. And then realized that I actually want to see if I can do something myself as opposed to talking about doing something, which is what a lot of my consulting career ended up being. And so one of the interesting things, I guess, from that was I had learned as an efficiency expert that a lot of the challenges that I was seeing specifically in technology organizations was just around so much friction and all the different processes that they had. And that did influence the founding of X Matters. The idea was we were trying to look for opportunities to remove friction from everyone's processes and using communication technologies to do it. And when we first got started, sending a page out to a pager or an alert to a WAP device, people were like, wow, how did you do that? And today, of course, that's not interesting at all. Today, it's about bringing people together and instrumenting processes to help them be more efficient and effective than they were before.
No, that makes sense. I mean, your consulting experience leading you to discover a real business problem and challenge, and then the hard part is going out and having, I think, the courage to actually form a company around that idea.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I really planned things, in a really intelligent way. It was, going out and doing it when my daughter was being born. My wife decided that she was going to stay at home. We had just bought our first house and we started the company all within 3 months, so it was really good planning on my part. But,
Um,
I mean, those high risk situations bring out the best in people, right? So,
totally.
being under that pressure, I think, is what makes a great company succeed or fail. And in our case, it's turned out well. So,
Yeah. What's that saying? We plan and God laughs.
yeah, that's right. That is very true. Yeah.
Yeah, I think most of our stories have some element of that definitely built in. Well, I'm looking at your website. I mean, you really have a tremendous list of customers, like the who's who, these amazing Fortune 500 logos and highly innovative
Yeah.
companies: 3M, PepsiCo, Accenture, HSBC, Experian, BMC, of course, Kellogg, like that is. It's not easy to win those customers, but then gaining their permission to talk about them publicly, you must have a really tight relationship with them for them to agree to do
Yes, that, and I consume lots of Diet Pepsi, and so that it's an equal trade with the Pepsi organization, probably. But I think this goes back to being customer focused and understanding that even though we are selling a technical product to a technical team or a technical group of people, um, it used to be that technology was slightly removed from interacting with the business. It was there as a business enabler, and in today's world, that's really not the case. The business runs on technology. They are so intertwined that it's not just there to make it more efficient. They really are completely dependent on each other. And I think, our customers understand that that's our view. We're here to help their customers have a great experience with their digital services. And so those logos that are up there, I think, are up there because number one, we've given them a great service and continue to do so. And two, I think we've done a good job of staying really well aligned with them as partners, that we get it, that we succeed and fail together. And if we can't help them provide a great customer experience to their customers, then, appropriately, we shouldn't be their partner anymore. We have to earn that over and over again. And I think our customers feel that from us. So we're really proud, and we've been very fortunate to earn those relationships with our customers, and we take them really seriously in what we do when we're building new products and providing a service to them.
I mean, I think that's why we at SADA love the cloud business, whether it's sort of the G Suite business or the GCP business. It really drives a lot of the incentive alignment for just all the best behavior, to enhance customer experience. We all feel in our relative markets that we have to earn our customers' trust and earn their business sort of every day. And not everybody can do it well, though. I think it takes a real sort of deep philosophy and commitment to customers for life. And it seems like you certainly have it sort of lined up there. You're in product, we're in services. I think in product, what's probably very important, and we see this in our alliance with Google, is part of what keeps you relevant and strategic is probably the ability to listen to your customers very well and translate all of that information into your roadmap.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah, that's an interesting balance, because every one of our customers believes that they know the solution to the problem they're dealing with, and would like us just to build that solution for them. And it's even a little extra complicated when your customer is a technical buyer, when your customers are developers and are operations people. The reality is they are super smart and they do have fantastic ideas. The hard part from a product perspective, of course, is to make sure that we provide a product that works for everyone and helps enable their processes, not one specific process. And that is, a little bit of art and a little bit of science and a whole lot of experimentation. I think we've really adopted from a mentality perspective that we really do think that failing fast is important. And that goes towards product development as well. Not failing fast in production, not that kind of a failure, but certainly failing fast, like putting ideas in front of customers quickly, getting them minimum viable products, getting them to play with them, give us feedback in a non-productive sense as much as we can, and then continue to educate folks and share best practices across teams, because we really are fortunate that we're able to peek into some of the largest companies in the world and see how they are dealing with transitions from either traditional ways of running their business into traditional ways of building product and running the product itself, as well as transitioning from perhaps a little bit more bricks and mortar towards this digital transformation change that has happened very, very quickly for everybody.
Yeah, and I think even especially now in the midst of this pandemic, I think being a digital organization, tech forward organization, I think has made all the difference in the world. For sure.
And I think it's pretty clear that people had to accelerate plans. I talk about this with our employees that about 2 years ago at xMatters, we decided that we thought the economy was getting pretty hot from how hot it was running. And so we started driving towards profitability and delivered profitable results for the last 2 years. And people are like, wow, how did you know a pandemic was coming? I'm like, wow, I was lucky. Let's be clear. I did not know a pandemic was coming. But you look at what's happening with these companies where they've had to shift so fast into a digital stance and accelerate their plans to do it. And without all of the years and years of infrastructure around cloud services and containerizing their services and the way that they're building and deploying software, it just wasn't possible. That could not have happened. But I am seeing lots of stress with customers today. It's like, hey, we did the last year's worth of work in 3 months, and we had to make some sacrifices in order to make that a reality. And now we need to go back and figure out, like, what do we need to shore up, to make sure that those services continue. Because, customers today, when I'm talking about customers, I mean like consumers, they expect, a fantastic digital experience with great features delivered on time, all the time. but it also has to, that's exceeding my expectations. You have to meet them. Like it needs to be, performant and without an interruption, or I'm going somewhere else. And, so that balance is really tough. And we're certainly seeing that stress on lots of our customers today.
I blame all the consumer apps, all the B2C applications to setting the standard with, customer expectations about how B2B applications should function, right? They really set the bar. Yeah.
That's right. I blame TikTok because I think everyone's blaming TikTok these days. I don't know why, but when I see my kids going around the house doing robo dances for no reason, I'm like, oh yeah, TikTok is evil. I gotta stop.
No, but even before that, like Google, Facebook, Amazon, like those systems don't go down. Like they're beautiful and they're easy to use. So now they expect Kellogg to deliver those kind of experiences to their customers and everyone else, right?
We're even seeing employees expecting that from their internal services from companies, right? That's a totally different level of investment that you can apply, in order to provide that experience. But ultimately, it's the correct expectation. Like that's where we should be striving for. But like I said, those are our customers, and I can see the stress on their faces when they're trying to figure out how to keep getting those builds out on time. And so that's kind of where that really does influence where we build product. We have moved away from trying to be an alerting application to bring people's attention to problems. And instead, we've moved completely towards incident response automation and management, because we know that, no matter how great your dev team is or your ops team is, problems happen. It's a world where things go wrong. And if we can instrument that process to bring people together to solve problems quicker or help them manage them through to conclusion faster, we know that customer experience is going to be better. And so that's really where we spend our time today, is talking to our customers about, look, it's one thing to talk about how you do it, but we can't lose sight of the outcome. The important outcome is that customer experience and keeping them, sticky with your application. So we know that there's two components. There's building new stuff and keeping the existing stuff up and performant. And so that's what we do. We try to remove all of your friction points in your continuous build cycles through incident response and through incident management to make sure people can do that at scale, which is a whole other problem.
So you talk about sort of developer on call as part of the process, right?
Yeah.
And I think it is a huge leap to go from just sort of alerting to response. Like it's not an easy shift.
Yeah.
So how does it actually work? Let's talk about the product a little more in depth, because I'm totally fascinated by that capability and how you can sort of bring that to customers at scale.
Yeah. So without some underlying changes in methodology, it doesn't actually work, right? So generally, hopefully, our customers have moved to some sort of agile or Kanban way of building products. They've changed their infrastructure towards continuous integration and deployment. They're starting to use cross-functional teams around their microservices. So they've subscribed to DevOps or some sort of site reliability engineering type of practice. As long as they're heading down these progressive paths, then we add a lot more value than we do in a traditional sense, because every step along the path of build, development to build to QA to all of the testing you want to do before it impacts the production customer to deployments, et cetera, enable people to do it in smaller pieces, get it out faster, like we expect, but with more changes, there are more opportunities for errors to get into the production cycle, right? And so what we've done is we've built an orchestration layer at the core of our product that allows people to very easily build processes that can inform you of something going wrong at any cycle, anywhere in your continuous software cycle. And the idea is we want to deal with issues early. When it gets into production, it's very expensive to deal with it there. And it's stressful and painful, and developers really don't want to deal with that. When we talk about developer on call, I think developers would prefer to deal with an on-call problem when they're the only ones that need to know about it. That's much better. And so the idea is to shift as far left as you can with how you're instrumenting, looking for anomalies, issues that are happening in your cycle. Once something does happen, and it does still happen, of course, for everyone, then we want to make sure that we collect all of the information we can. So when you're bringing people together from an incident response perspective, it's not just alerting them, it's also gathering as much intelligence as you can with anything that's happened in the environment, producing that for everyone to see it, come to speed quickly, and then come into an incident process and run an instrumented process similar to what Google does. Google uses the incident command system, which is 30 years old, but it's been revamped, right, for technology. And that's essentially what we're doing. We're taking you through and helping you decide who has what role in the incident. I'm either a scribe or an incident commander. And I'm showing you everything that's happening, your Slack rooms, your Teams rooms. If you're using Google collaboration tools, it's all displayed for you in one spot. And we're going through then and taking all the actions we need to restore the service. We're logging everything. And then we're giving you suggestions with how to fix it in the future, as well as a postmortem. And so the idea is we're subscribing to this whole continuous idea that you're going to continually get better and continue to automate your processes. And so in order for that to happen, we have to continue to direct people toward, how to improve their cycles.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the mission critical sort of capabilities you bring to market and big customers, etc. I think you have an interesting story in terms of how you got to know GCP as a platform better. It was probably an unexpected pathway, but I'd love for the audience to hear about how that all went down.
Yeah, for sure. So we actually started as an on-premise software company, and we realized that wasn't going to work for bringing the service to market that our customers really expected from us. We couldn't be as good of a partner if we were expecting them to install the database and everything else on their side. And so this is where my real brilliance came in. I thought, well, if our customers can install it, we can too. So we'll just set up a data center with a bunch of machines in a rack and infrastructure as a service, and off we run. And yeah, I don't think I had any gray hair when we started that process, but man, that was a big mistake. And so that's when we realized that as we were looking at how many of our incidents actually impact our end customers, it was like 75% of them were infrastructure related. 75% of every time a customer was dissatisfied, it was coming from our inability to run our service. So, and it's not like we didn't have great people. We had great people running the service. They were killing themselves, to do that. But
it turns out running infrastructure at scale with like 4 nines SLA, it's very difficult to do.
Who knew? Who knew?
There's like 3 or 4 providers who can do it well.
Right. I'm like 4 minutes of downtime. What will they do all the time? Yeah. So that's clearly our experience. We started looking at the different cloud providers out there. So of course we looked at Microsoft, we looked at Amazon, we looked at Google. Google stood out for several different reasons. First off, for what we were doing, it was more cost effective. We ran lots of tests to make sure that was the case. And Google does a great job of providing lots of visibility into how your system is consuming resources. And it's helped us actually, not only did they win the business, but it also has helped us to continue to get more efficient in our consumption of services. From a technology perspective, the commitment to Kubernetes was impactful for us. We knew that Kubernetes was likely going to be the container solution of source of record for us. And Google's commitment on that side was super helpful. That absolutely. Technology commitment has continued to serve us really well. Not just Kubernetes, but lots of the production things, improvements.
And my understanding also is that you started seeing it at your customers. Walmart, I think 2,000 engineers at Walmart on your platform for GCP. That's right.
Yeah, so we have a number of customers, obviously, that have tens of thousands of people using the application, right? But in some of our customers that are just much more dependent on digital services because they are a .com and their business, relies on that, regardless of the bricks and mortar side of their business. It's the immediacy need of these high impact .com type of customers where we see it. And what we found was, customers that had tens of thousands of engineers were getting slow response times. They were maintaining too many different types of automation scripts that were creating problems for them. And so by moving over to GCP, we were able to give them a much higher service, better reporting, faster response times. We're able to get them features faster. I mean, it really is a very big difference for us as far as running our business goes.
Was there an intermediary step? Were you from on-premise to another cloud than GCP?
No, we thought we could do it ourselves. We set up an infrastructure as a service stack ourselves and just struggled trying to make that happen. We had been using Amazon for prototyping, so we probably were using AWS for probably about 4 or 5 years before we decided to make our cloud decision. So I think we were really familiar with what there was from an offering perspective. And we felt that it just wasn't going to meet where we wanted to go in the long term. And the reality is now, in retrospect, we were correct. I think Google's been, no slight intended for Amazon, because I think they're an awesome, provider. But for us, Google has been a business partner in making this successful, and that's been different.
Yeah, I see that in more and more of our platform customers. We kind of broadly put you all in a category of digital natives or sort of ISVs, in which like the platform is your core business.
Right.
We have a unique category for those. And I think that for anyone who launched in the last couple of years or made their cloud decision in the last couple of years across the board, just in aggregate in the market in US and Canada,
yeah,
if the engineers got to make the choice, they have probably chosen GCP. And those, because it's just like a better platform. Like it's more performant, cost for performance, just also on the top end of what like BigQuery and some of those platform services can do. And those who are digital natives and started in the cloud, 5-10 years ago, they might have started in AWS because that's what was there, and then made or starting to make the transition now. So there's a consistent theme, and I think that's why this sort of category of customers is such a strong area of growth for us at SADA and for GCP, is because it's literally the choice of engineers, and we see that kind of repeated back to us over and over again. But the other part is, I think each one of our customers finds some of the aspects of GCP to be uniquely advantageous, or they're doing some really cool stuff on top of the platform. You mentioned Kubernetes already, which of course Google sort of wrote the paper on and open source, right?
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. But what else are you doing on the platform that you feel like is super unique to
cool stuff?
Matter? Yeah.
Yeah, I think some of it probably isn't unique to us specifically, but it is a need that I think everyone has that's trying to provide a 4.9 service to their customer. Because people count on us when things go wrong in their environment, so we have to be here all the time, right? We really can't afford downtime. And so a few things that were really important for us. Regional failover across the different sites at Google has been incredibly impactful for us. So we're able to fail over from any region to any region, full failover in less than, I think it's 3.5 minutes now for everything. And that used to be a lot longer. I don't even want to tell you how long it was. It was longer, a lot. And so we run our practices all the time now, failing over, and we're just continuing to just tick away at making that more and more efficient. And we think that we're going to get it to sub-minute, which is fantastic for the entire service.
Unbelievable.
But that's just not possible. And not as is it not possible, it's not financially feasible to do any other way than with a cloud provider. We're building out, important for us and our customers is analytics, because they're sending all of their incidents across our system and running the resolution processes. It's both my problem and my solution in one place. And that is really impactful over time. And a lot of times what we find is that teams within an organization have the same problem and maybe solved it differently or the same way, but didn't know that the other team had the problem. And so by bringing those analytics to life and encouraging them to automate them so they don't keep solving the same problems over and over is important. So we're building out a data lake using BigQuery.
Yes.
And so that's been fantastic.
BigQuery, one of the unsung heroes of the GCP platform, right? Kind of almost, it's getting more and more traction now as far as air cover and awareness, but we almost feel like they don't talk about it enough.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we went out and tested other products, and just because we were primarily GCP didn't mean we couldn't use other products for solving this problem. And so we looked at providers, and it was both cost and benefit. They won on both sides. It was going to be cheaper and better, and it's on the same platform. So.
Yeah, and it's getting faster, and it's actually getting multi-cloud with Omni, BigQuery Omni, and it's just. And we see that sort of trend-wise in our journey for most of our customers. I think they're starting off with a lot of the infrastructure modernization, migration sort of work, which makes sense. Yeah. And once that's sort of in place, the next big shift is just getting a handle on the data, right? Like processing the data, making it accessible, putting it in something like a data lake so they can then run analytics, gather insights, and also the next step would be like predicting the future, right? As much as
Right.
possible as far
That's
as
right.
predictive analytics. Yeah, that's sort of the
That's
natural
exactly right. That is the
journey.
natural extension. Yeah. I mean, if you're a human trying to deal with an issue, it is more impactful for the system to encourage you and guide you on what things you should try.
Yeah.
And so, in order to have that, you have to have analytics there in order to encourage that type of recommendation engine.
So, when did we start engaging with you, or how did that all go down? Where SADA came into the picture? Like our orientation towards GCP is like we feel like we made our bet on the best platform, the best cloud, all in. But our objective is to make it like when you mix SADA in there, it makes it better. Like that's the goal, right? So, what was your experience with our teams, and how did that all go down?
That's a very interesting analogy. It was pretty much like you just described. You know, we headed down the path of GCP. We committed to them. We committed our spend. We were well down the path of transitioning customers from our own hosted data centers into GCP. We were live in several regions, but it's one of those things where it got progressively more complicated. We needed more assistance, and we've always gotten great support from Google, but we were starting to get into the edges of the questions we were asking, and we were looking for some experience also, not just this is the way to deal with that problem, but here are a couple different alternatives, and here are the pluses and minuses of them, and let's work with you. So I would say, for the most part, it was very importantly, it was expertise that was being added to the equation. And I always like to think that the manufacturer has the best knowledge of their product. But sometimes what you find is that the manufacturer doesn't have as much real life experience and hasn't suffered through different types of things. And with that suffering comes experience. You break a muscle down so they can get stronger type of thing. And that's kind of what we were feeling. And so at times we were like, we just need a little more help and a little more expertise.
Yeah, definitely. Look, Google, obviously it's their job to keep the platform up, to respond to incidents which are, across the platform in various ways. Our job is to gain the experience across hundreds of customer environments in them attempting to do different things at the edge, often maybe breaking the platform, right? And sort of pushing it to its limits. But then beyond that kind of guidance, I think our job is to, we want to know the xMatters environment with such intimacy that it's not something Google can ever know. They'll never get that close, right? And it's not their job. And I think that's precisely, part of the value proposition. And again, I just love how in this business, much like yours, we're so much in the same boat. Like the more successful xMatters is, the more revenue it drives to Google and to SADA, the more value you see in our work. It's any kind of model that promotes customers for life is, I think, a wonderful one, because I think it's just the incentive is built in.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's part of the experience that's been a little different and a little unexpected, frankly, with both Google and SADA, that there was a real understanding that making us successful makes everybody successful. On the Google side, we were invited in to meet with SRE teams to look at their best practices, which is fantastic, because that is influencing our product direction so that we can bring that to other enterprises. They were influential in letting us join the marketplace. And so you can buy our product now as a Google Cloud product in the marketplace, which is awesome. But what you said is exactly right, that without our partners really getting in to understand our business and what we were trying to accomplish, then the questions we were asking felt out of context, especially if we were rotating to different people within Google, right? And I think the investment that SADA made coming in the door to really understand what we were trying to accomplish and learn it, so that we're having a continuing conversation, not a new conversation every time we want to talk.
That's right.
Has really helped us progress faster. And for us, this is, we want to provide new services to our customers. We don't really care if it's Xerxes or if it's BigQuery or what app. We don't care what the technology is. We just know our customer has a problem and we want to solve it. And I think SADA has been a great partner in helping us to identify the right way to solve those problems.
I appreciate that. We are very much in the same boat, and we continue to add to our scale and our teams. Like the technical account management strategy is very, very important to us.
Yeah.
And it's an area we're going to continue to invest, because I think that's the only way to really accentuate our relationship, get deeper and more strategic with more and more customers. You know, it's in our 14 years with Google, I think we've never felt like we're at such an inflection point with the market impact we're having. I mean, yeah, the work we did in the past with collaboration, et cetera, is still very important, still transforms the way people work. But I think this platform has truly the potential to transform many, many more industries and organizations to what their customers expect. And I think the current environment is absolutely accelerating that, to your point, and you know, as you're seeing it in market. So if you look at the future, then I know a lot of, and I can just tell by speaking with you, but I think it also just your success and sort of tenure speaks for itself. But as you look forward, if you look at sort of your customer experience philosophy, what are the areas that excite you the most and you think about the most over the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I think right now I'm sort of focusing my time and attention with my customers and talking about, how do they look at how they run their business and what are the most important metrics that they use to tell them if they're succeeding or failing. And whenever I talk to a technical customer, they want to go into SLOs and SLIs and SLAs and MTTRs and I keep trying to talk about those are all irrelevant. They're early warning signs, but the reality is none of those matter. What matters is your NPS, your Net Promoter Score. And usually a technology person's like, what the hell's that? Well, it's really important to understand, right? You want to know if your customer loves you so much that they're willing to put their name on you and recommend them to somebody else. Because it's not just buying more or telling someone casually. It's that I would be willing to put my name on you publicly because the outcome that you've delivered is so important to our business. And I think that if you have that outcome in mind, the rest of the things you're trying to architect and measure kind of fit in. So if you're using if you use OKRs, you realize that that's the important objective. The other things can be your key results, but that's the thing that ultimately matters. And that alignment should help govern your decisions on the choices you make on how you run your services. And so I think that is, number one, that's your North Star that you're going after. And then the other things we're doing are all really in light of helping our customers meet that, to provide that great service to their customers. And so we're focused on things like machine learning and automation that are just going to help them make better decisions faster so they can spend their time building features and not spend their time solving incidents. We want to take all that stuff off of their plate as much as we can and let them be, their best selves, which is probably in creating something new for their customers. And so that's the role we think we're going to be playing over the next few years. And I think we still have a lot to do in order to make that a reality. And we're not the only ones in the market that think that that's the case. So, it's a hot competitive space, and that's great, because it makes us all better and gives our customers better solutions.
Yeah, so our QBRs, probably much like yours, have evolved from very technical. Oh, here's the tickets that we open. Here's to what's the strategy? What are you doing this quarter, next quarter to make your company a better company? And how can, in our case, GCP, or in your case, your platform kind of get, drive to that end? And I cracked up when you said NPS, because my COO makes fun of me for being completely obsessed with NPS, because I, much like you, believe it's the only metric that matters.
Yeah.
Seriously. We run an internal NPS for employees. We know what our employee NPS score is. We're running one in our incident sort of response team, and also very soon on the product deliveries, on the project delivery side with professional services too. So I'm going to mention to Dana that Troy said NPS is, he's as obsessed with NPS as I am. So I'm not alone.
Yeah, you're not alone. And the other thing I track are it's not just, so NPS is would you refer us, but we also track referrals, actual referrals. Coming back to a survey and say, yeah, I love you guys so much, I feel kind of awkward in this survey, so I'll just say I would. It's like, yeah, that's great. But did you, when was the last time you referred us to a friend? Because that actually tells me that you went to the effort. There was an analogy I read somewhere, it was, in a book, and I apologize to the author for not remembering who it was that wrote this. but it was talking about customer happiness, and it was talking about the effect of an airport restaurant. So when you're in an airport restaurant and you get served food, your expectations are extremely low. Those expectations are met. The food's not good. When someone comes to your table and says, "How was your meal?" we all respond with the same answer.
It's great.
It's fine. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's good.
Because
Whatever,
we know that the response doesn't matter. You're not going to fix it, and I'm not coming back. So who cares, right?
Yeah.
And that is a really important way of looking at how customers view you. What you want to hear is, "That was fantastic," and I'm telling a friend that if they ever fly through Denver International, they have to come to this restaurant because it's so good. And that's what I want to hear from customers. That's what my customers want to hear from their customers. And I think if we don't spend our time focused on that, then we're really missing the ball. We're sort of
referrals and reference calls. Like, they require time and effort.
Yeah.
But they also introduce reputation risk.
Yeah.
God forbid I refer somebody to anything that's not excellent, right? That puts my reputation at risk. So I completely agree with you. I'm going to share this anecdote with Dana, and I could tell, like, I mean, just culturally, I think very aligned. I could see why the universe kind of brought us together. Troy, I really appreciate bringing your trusted advisor and your guide to your journey with Google Cloud, and really having the opportunity to feel like your business partner. And I really appreciate the time that you took to, make this podcast and inspire and educate the rest of the market on GCP.
Well, I appreciate that, Tony, and we appreciate you as a business partner. I think if that wasn't the case, I wouldn't be giving you a referral right now. So your NPS score is high with me. So thank you for all of the help.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being my guest.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Cloud and Clear. Check the show notes for links to this week's topics. And don't forget to connect with us on Twitter @CloudandClear and our website, sada.com. Be sure to rate and review the show on your favorite podcast app.